Haiyore Nyaruko-san Meijo Shigatai Game no Yona Mono begins great by taking a scene that was in the anime and using visual novel elements to make it a lot funnier. After this, however, well, it made me regret my life decision of getting into visual novels. I've read my fair share of bad visual novels throughout my journey, and, well, this has mainly been due to my bad decisions of what to read, and none of them has been as bad as this. This is the one visual novel I regret the most reading of all of the ones I've read. Just like Plastic Memories, it starts off by a poor adaptation of the anime that just uses CGs which are just directly taken from the anime, and it just pads out the length by adding some boring choices that are integrated into a point system that goes towards the different endings. Then the next part is an uninspired story that kind of just lazily uses the same type of comedy found in the anime. The few original CGs in the visual novel just looks way worse than the anime as well, so the original art isn't great. Then of course there are like 16 endings or something like that. Sorry, I'm not gonna look it up. I don't want to relive the trauma by actually booting this thing up again. I just don't want to do that. This means you need to go through the visual novel 8 times from beginning to the end, as well as continue from saves halfway through the visual novel to get all of the endings and all of the scenes. If this wasn't bad enough, it's poorly optimized for the Vita, which makes skipping through text you've already read take quite a while. So yeah, the text skipping is slow. And yeah, there are about 40 choices between the start of the visual novel and the end of it. So this results in the skipping process taking about 1 hour every damn time you go from the beginning to the end, and it stops you about every 1 to 2 minutes, so you can't just click the skip button and wait an hour. No, you'll have to be in it for the entire time. Please just let me re-roll my trades. God damn it. Finally, something that isn't complete garbage. I didn't say it was good. So, this Oreimo visual novel, which was actually a PSP release, but which was also released for the PlayStation Vita store, later, rest in peace. Well, that's what my script says, but the store didn't end up closing, so yeah, that's a bit awkward. Well, this release was divided into 2 parts. The first part was the initial release, and then later on they released it again and added an extra disc. Now, this visual novel actually has an original story, and we're finally done with the visual novels where a big part of the visual novel is just a adaptation of the anime. As for the content, well, it's okay enough, but I didn't find it particularly good. The main problem I had with the first disc was that Kirino and Kuroneko didn't really have that good routes in my opinion. In most of the routes, they were just pretty much pushing Kyosuke away, and this led to very little fun banter and not a lot of time to do great build-up of the relationship. It gets better close to the end, but at that point there really isn't that much left. Ayase, however, actually had a good route in my opinion, with nice banter and development between her and Kyosuke, as he had to introduce her deeper into otaku culture so she would better understand Kirino. The second disc, in my opinion, goes in a better general direction, with it focusing more on romance development between Kyosuke and the girls. The problem, however, with this second disc is that, in my opinion, there are just too many heroines. And due to the length of the visual novel, well, they just have really short routes, which has a problem with not really having that much impact because of the short length. As for the gameplay aspects, I think the choice system is needlessly complex, but at least it comes with a nice flowchart system. Yeah, also there is this Oreimo Happy End. Yeah, we don't talk about this one. We just don't. Saenai Hirene no Suratakata is one of my all-time favorite anime. Saenai Hirene no Suratakata Blessing Flower is one of my most hated visual novel of all time. Now, why do I hate this? Well, one word, boring. Yeah, this visual novel is really damn boring. The comedy is far from as good as in the anime, the characters have had all of their depth removed, and there is a lack of drama apart from right before the endings, and this drama is just really poorly done and doesn't seem to be realistic based off of the characters. Basically, it takes all of the aspects that could have been boring about Saekano and doubles down on them while avoiding any interesting aspects of it. Now, most of the scenes are either in Tomiya's room or in their unofficial club room. Now, there are some events with CGs outside of these places, but these scenes are generally quite short and they're kind of odd. It's sort of like the writer didn't really intend for them to be there, but then got the CG artworks and figured out last minute that, well, they needed to write something short to justify them being there. So this results in some short scenes with some lackluster comedy, or in some cases, just no comedy at all, no development between the characters, and otherwise not really anything that could be considered worthwhile. The game system is also overly complicated, and in some cases it doesn't make a lot of sense, for instance, requiring you to do a scene with one of the girls to get into another girl's route. The endings are also quite odd, with you basically just being left on a cliffhanger after some poorly done romantic development at the end. And so, yeah, it just ends without any proper resolution. Honestly, just this is just a bad visual novel in general. It's just bad. It's boring.
You thought I was done talking about Data Live? Well, you were wrong. Data Live Ren Dystopia. Just look at this cover. It looks really cool and interesting. The visual novel itself, though, well, I guess it's okay, but it's not really that good. So, this follows the pattern of the Data Live visual novels, where it gets worse for every major title. What I would say is the main problem with this one is that there are way too many routes, and as such, these routes are really short. Now, the basic setup for the story is that you have this new character Ren, which shows up in the dreams of the heroines and tells them that she can fulfill their wishes. So, yeah, basically, she has wish granting abilities. While she looks really cool and interesting, she's just kind of a meh character. There really isn't anything interesting about her, and yeah, she's just kind of okay. Now, for the wishes themselves, well, they are for the most part not that interesting. Like, you have Yoshino wishing that she was able to not be that shy for a day, or Kotori wanting a break and thus having one day as White Ribbon Kotori. Since the routes are short, the scenes are, of course, also quite short, and they seem to try to do a combination of it being emotional and having comedy. And I felt it really failed at this. The comedy suffers from not really being able to commit to it, and the emotional part just doesn't work because of the short length, as well as the wishes being kind of not that interesting, and the problems caused by them are kind of minor. So, yeah, they aren't really that interesting. The art is amazing, though, and it has great voice acting. And while I complain a lot about it, there are still some nice enough scenes, just not that good. So, this isn't horrible. It's not complete trash, but It's not that good. It's rather disappointing considering what they had to work with and considering the previous titles.